Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 105, I think, at this point. Today we're going to determine the winners of the most recent giveaway that are going to be winning John Kitt's body kits. And yeah, we'll do that later. So stick around and let's do some show and tell. Anybody got any show and tell? If you do, raise your virtual hand and I'll make sure we call on you. If not, then we'll skip ahead to other topics. No, I got a quick little show and tell, but it's not really worth starting off with. John has his virtual hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Kitt.
This is sort of the end sort of piece to, I guess, the static alpha I was working on. I actually sort of slapped one together just to show you folks. And here's what it looks like on the track.
Very nice. And that's cast color, right?
Yep, that's cast color. Yep, exactly. I filled in I guess the panel lines, for lack of a better description. I threw on just some wheels and inserts just to see what it would look like.
Nice.
Let me just get through here.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, thank you. And then the next thing is to make it into a slot car, but just, you know, as a static, it's really kind of cool. And the doors, of course, open, which is really neat. Actually, that looks pretty cool. Looks like she got out of the car, except that her top changed color. I just noticed that. Sorry about that. But yeah, no, it cast really well. And again, not having to paint it, it's really neat.
The fact that her top changed color meant that's why the guy in the blue is sitting there staring at her.
Yeah, I mean, he thought he was fast.
Actually, he was wishing that she'd taken the top off and that the car changed color. You know?
Now you molded that from a die cast, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
And retain the working doors. That's cool. Did you figure out some way to add? Usually die cast cars with doors like that have some kind of spring to help them stay shut.
You know what's really interesting is that the resin itself has enough resistance that the doors stay shut, which is really kind of interesting. I didn't expect that. I'm sorry, say that. Sorry again.
Until you hit another car.
Well, then it's just like
reason for them to pop open.
but then it's like a real alpha.
How many colors are available? Did you could cast?
Oh, whatever colors you want. I did one in red that I haven't built yet. Red, yellow, blue, whatever color you would like. White, whatever color you like.
Great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Good stuff. Anybody got anything to ask Mr. John before we move on?
John, what'd you use for chrome on the bumpers?
Oh, actually, that was Tester's Model Master, because I didn't want to sort of mess about with Molotow, so I just used Model Master, and it actually looks pretty good.
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And Mr. Martin has revealed himself. I don't think you've done an introduction because I don't think you've been on long enough to do one. Do you want to do an introduction to Mr. J. Martin?
I sure can.
All right. Tell us all about your slot car history.
Okay. Well, first, thank you, Greg, for putting this together and keeping it going. It's been great to drop in and listen to the great conversations. I don't know the year, but I'm 69, and my brother and I, when we were little, we had a model motoring set up on a ping pong table in our basement that we just lived down there. And that was well before the HO cars went fast. Some years later, we bought new cars just to try them out. And they were just in a whole nother realm from what we had experienced, but we loved it. And we could tell when it was time to stop. To switch cars, we'd hold them upside down to our chin, and when they burn us, we'd know, okay, switch out cars. As I've gotten older, I've gotten a little more restricted in my physical ability to do some of my previous hobbies. So I've been looking for something to do and reflected back on how much fun we had then. And so I got on and started to do a little research, and I started to build a routed track, which I can show a couple pictures of if that's of any interest.
Sure.
Yeah, whenever you want to.
Okay. Let me get that up here. So I originally started out with sort of grandiose ideas of making 3 lanes and you know, on 6 sheets of plywood or something, and quickly scaled back to I ended up with 3 feet by 14 feet, and this was sort of a design that went through many iterations on Slot Forum to people to help me. And my brother insisted I do this overpass. And so, which turned out to be, how do I move to my next one here? So anyways, the overpass turned out to be a lot of work. I started out building something like a wall from back in my house building days, which probably wasn't that helpful. I think there's a book on building railroad things to hold up model railroading that would have been better to follow something like that, but that's what I did. I decided I didn't want standard radius corners. So I made patterns for the corners based on golden spiral, Fibonacci thing. And so my radiuses they open up as you go out, you know, as you leave. This is starting the routing. Let's see here. Oh yeah. So it turns out that the overpass was 80% of the work. The first one broke, and so I just have my brother to thank for that. He just insisted we have to have that, and he lives 1,800 miles away, so he's not here to help with any of that. I have a friend whose high school son is autistic, and he's been over to help me with some of the future landscaping. I've never done any of the landscaping stuff before. I've done some woodworking, but I've never done any of this other stuff. So I'm having to learn this kind of stuff. Because I'm modeling it after Idaho, I'm building sort of jalopies instead of
Are you sure that's not Oregon? I see a lot of rust.
yes. And so after I got it pretty much done in the garage, I moved it down to the basement where it was going to end up. And so here I'm putting in some Bondo on the joints, and now I'm at the stage of painting it. Again, no artistic background whatsoever. So this is all, I think I'm on my 3rd coat, and it completely changes colors each time. So I'm trying to, it's supposed to be dirt road from Idaho. So,
so this is digital.
Yes, it's going to be digital. These 2 lanes over, the closest on the left are the pit area. And they'll have sort of pop-up tents for the pit crews. Because again, we're in a rural setting, no fancy pits. So
kind of like a rally.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. Big learning curve. I said to somebody the other day, it would have been nice to have maybe to have a plastic track first, because I, still after all this time haven't been able to fire up a car. And he said, no, you don't want to have a plastic track, or you'd never work on your wood track. So I don't know what's true, but I'm plugging away at it.
It looks just great.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, you're making great progress on that. For everybody else, I think I've been following you on Slot Forum. What
Yes.
kind of digital are you putting in the track?
That's what we asked.
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask one for you. And what's the lane spacing?
Oh boy, it's sort of in the middle. Thinking 3 5/8. Is that right? It's sort of.
Okay, that's good enough to do 124 though.
Yeah, most 124 cars will fit in there.
Yeah.
Plenty of room for 132, but the big 124s might scrape a little bit.
How are you going to do the flippers?
That'll be enough. I'm going to make them out of brass. Right now, the oxygen boards are hard to come by. Professor Motor finally got 2 in, and I grabbed those immediately. I need 4. So I'm planning. I'm anticipating. I'm probably going to run analog first, and then after I'm doing that, and more boards become available, then I'll go up the learning curve of how to build my flippers and get those going.
And is the problem the production of the flippers for the boards of Spotted?
I don't know. They just supply chain or whatever.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know either.
Real cool. Real cool.
Yeah, and you know, probably what Henry's getting at is might not be so hard for him to pick up some boards. So, you know, be sure and check pendleslotracing.com and Top Slots and Trains over in the UK, because even though they're in the UK, because we don't pay British tax, and for whatever reason, shipping costs from there to here are very reasonable.
Really?
You can actually get stuff for cheaper from Great Britain than we pay here in the United States. So if they have those available, go through the checkout process till you get to the end before you do the final purchase to see what the actual price with shipping and not having to pay their tax comes out to.
Okay.
So you might be able to get some more boards sooner than you originally thought.
That's good.
I'm gonna look for you here in Europe.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Anybody else got any questions for Mr. Martin before we move on? All right, we're looking forward to seeing more on that track for sure. And like I said, he's posting on Slot Forum. So if you want to see past and present and future updates on that, you can go to slotforum.com and find his stuff. You're posting in Tracks and Scenery, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Private Idaho version 1.
Yeah, that's what it was called. And your screen name is J Martin too, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Not hard to find. So go look for that. And next up, we've got some show and tell from Mr. Crawley. Go ahead, John.
Thank you. Thank you. A few weeks ago, as you guys know, I got the Tech Slots analog digital converter, and it's working great. It is absolutely a thrill to have. But I was still using the old thumb mechanisms, and I picked up a pair of Ramjet X. Can you see that? There we go.
Yeah, I got one of those. Those are great controllers.
Really great controllers. I'm loving these. And someone, when we were talking in one of these sessions, said it will change the way you approach driving, the braking and everything. And it really has. It is such a pleasure to use a real controller now instead of just a thumb plunger. So I'm very happy with that.
It looked like you just had the one finger trigger. Is that right?
Yes, this is the one finger trigger.
I learned to love the 2-finger trigger on the slotted SCP2 because it came with the option of 1 or 2 finger trigger lengths.
Oh, the lengths? No, this has a longer one you can add to it.
Let me spotlight you. Go ahead and hold that up again.
Yeah.
Right in front of you. Can you get 2 fingers around it?
Yeah.
Or does one slip off the end?
It's about halfway.
Yeah. So the longer one is plenty long enough for 2 fingers to sit comfortably. And I find that I don't do endurance racing by any means, but anytime I'm doing a longer race, having both fingers on the trigger really helps.
Yeah.
And I don't like driving with 1 finger anymore. So anytime there's a 2-finger trigger option, I go for it.
Well, the one thing I have found is it seemed to me, and maybe it's just what you're used to starting with, the button in the back on the plunger.
Yeah,
2 hands. I know. And this is much better and much more accurate. There was a delay for some reason in the Carrera button, and so sometimes you would miss your gate and sometimes not. This thing is so accurate. I can pop it at the last second and pass somebody, and it's really nice. And when it switches over to analog, it's just brilliantly smooth, and you can still program your speed and braking distances, which I didn't realize you were going to be able to do.
Yeah, that's definitely one advantage of the chipping the lane concept with Carrera, is that you can still adjust the power and brake settings. Yeah.
John, where'd you get it? Because I'm having a hard time finding anything from my Carrera track.
You mean the Tektron? The
Ramjet.
I believe it came from.
I mean, you can buy them direct from Digital Racing Solutions. You know, they have resellers, but I'm pretty sure you can still just go to.
Yeah, I think you can. I may have found this at
LEB Hobbies, yeah.
LED Hobbies. I may have gotten it from them. I know I got an analog set from them, but this has the kind of little phone jack Carrera in it.
Well, I have
They may have even come from Electric
Dreams.
Yeah, Electric Dreams.
Dennis, does Electric Dreams sell the Ramjet, the Digital Racing Solution Ramjet? No. I mean, like I said, you can go search around. You know, if you have a favorite hobby store, obviously support that favorite hobby store, especially if you have a local brick and mortar store to support.
They were hard to find for a while.
But otherwise, digitalracingsolutions.com, buy it direct from Monty and Mike.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I was actually looking for the Franken slot, but they've been they're just non-existent.
Well, now these are not.
We had them for a while anymore.
Yeah, these aren't wireless. Yeah,
these aren't wireless.
Yeah. Frankenslot's the only one that does a wired trigger controller for Carrera Digital.
Wireless, you mean?
Sorry, wireless. That's what I meant. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah,
but they also, I believe, they make a wired version as well. Frankenslot make both a wired and a wireless version.
They do.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
and they have one that is wire or less, as they say.
Oh, really?
You can use it either way.
Yeah.
Cool.
You guys haven't had that for like 2 years now.
Yeah, I know. Now, the problem is getting stuff from Germany when you're getting it from small manufacturers who are kind of more retailers than their manufacturers. Their tax systems in Germany don't allow them to not charge us tax. And so there's a bunch of stuff like that, particularly Frankenslot and Tech Slots as well, Slot Technic, who make nice chips. The same problem. We're trying to work around it, but we haven't been able to yet.
Yeah, the guy that made the Tech Slots was telling me that this is probably the last batch he's going to make in a while. That it's too hard to get components.
Yeah, I saw that posted.
Oh, that's the general problem of electronics at the moment, right? Yeah. Everybody in the world, from car manufacturers to slot car manufacturers, are struggling to find
chips of all kinds.
Yep. Yeah. Electronic components, I would say.
Great controller. Thanks for sharing, John. Did you have anything else? All right, good to go. Over to Garth. Mr. Garth, go ahead.
I got a quick update on my 3D printed wheel project.
Okay.
A couple photos here.
I'm glad I brought snacks.
Where's the popcorn?
Didn't bring it for everybody?
Okay.
Yeah, come on over. You're welcome.
Oh, there we go.
Over,
okay, so now we're seeing your hub things.
Yeah, I got a hold of some hub things. These were done by the guy that does ranch design. Okay, and you can purchase them if you care to from him, but he's only going to do it on HRW 143rd Forum, and just look for Steve Ranch Design and send him a PM, and he'll take care of you for that. And I got a few.
Are you saying RANCH Ranch Design? Is that?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. It's Steve on the forum. Okay, is his name. So, and he'll be listed in. Just send him a PM, a personal message, and he'll take care of you from there if you want to buy some. And this is one pushed onto a nylon wheel. I got a hold of some nylon, printed wheels that were printed with MJF nylon PA20. Okay, it's kind of a fuzzy sort of nylon. Although,
is that Shapeways?
No, this was a Cloudcraft.
Okay.
And they're kind of like a Shapeways sort of outfit. But they actually were printed by an outfit in Idaho. This is one of the wheels with the hub already in it. Okay, but you can see this nylon has got a real rough finish to it. Okay, although the physical dimensions are absolutely out of this world. I mean, it is so straight, so true, so to the print, it's unbelievable. It's really, really quite good quality. That's another version of the thing printed on it. And these were, I drilled them, reamed them, and then pressed this in with some epoxy. And they've proven to work pretty good. And that's what the thing looks like. The nylon wheels look like.
It's the same technology as Shapeways SLS.
Yeah. This one's called I forget what they call it, but I'm going to try another version of the nylon in the next go round. Okay. I got a couple of test cars. This is one that's got the five spoke wheels on it. Okay. And with the hubs and everything, and not much had to be done to it other than put the hubs on and screw them down. So that's what that car looks like. This is the one with the 4-spoke wheels. Okay. And
so what you finally invented here, Garth, is a nylon wheel with a grub screw.
Or rather, I think the main.
I don't like to use the word invention too much. I don't think I've invented.
The main invention would be that there's a metal hub for accuracy to the axle and the ability to use a grub screw, but then essentially interchangeable plastic wheels.
Yeah, it's like a repair insert, isn't it? You can pop this into a wheel you've already stripped the knurl out of, as long as there's material to drill it through.
That's absolutely true. And there's talk between me and Ranch Design about coming up with other versions just for that, for like things like Scalextric and Carrera wheels that, to repair them. Okay, but so far, the two test cars are just absolutely out of this world.
So, Garth, have you got a weight for an all-up built wheel with the hubbit with the
really light? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a weight, but they're a lot lighter than even just. I usually run those cars with just aluminum wheels on the front and the rear, and they're lighter than that. Okay, and they're the other thing about them is they're round. So all the ones I've done so far,
he wants a wheel that's like sub half a gram.
We all do. We just don't know it.
They have some space age materials. If you want to, spend a lot of money for it. Okay, but
I think a typical alloy is about 1.11 to 1.1 grams. Some of them are extremely low at 0.7, 0.8 grams a wheel. If you get into that range with nylon and an alley hub, then you have the benefit of having the mass near the axle and not out near the tire. So it will actually spin up easier and brakes better. The nylon flex under load, which would prevent tire slippage. It could have a performance benefit.
Mm-hmm. the project is all different types of stuff. I've got some wheels that Greg printed just in regular PLA that are really super too. So, and I got some coming, some new ones coming, and I'm kind of working on the perfection of the reaming of the wheel. Okay, I increased the diameter of the printed hole in the middle so that I don't have to do so much drilling, and I can just ream through and little bit easier. But so far, I'm having a lot of fun with it. So
I got a surprise for you in that package. Not only are you getting what you asked of me, those wheels in PLA, but also you're getting a full set in PETG and a full set in ABS. So now you can play around with how those materials differ in actual usage.
Cool. Yeah, this is
So Garth, you can go and buy a very small, about $10 digital scale, accurate to 2 decimal places, and give us some numbers.
Yeah, I you know, that's going to come. Okay, I mean, I'm working on the wheels as I go, and like I said, I just got the hubs recently, so, and I've got enough hubs. I got 12 of the hubs that Steve did at Ranch Design, and they're, you know, that is the one. I'm not going to buy any more from anybody. He's the guy that do it. You know, he's got a really nice lathe set up, and it's just really, really great quality. And
what are his hubs made out of, Garth?
6061 aluminum. And then I had a local guy, a guy that I know really well, has a CNC shop, and he kind of specializes in lathes, but not small work like that. He does a little bit bigger stuff. So he made 40 of them. So I've got, for my testing program, I've got 62 hubs that I'm just going to use for testing. Okay, and it's proven to be pretty cool because I was into it for you know, the design of the wheel, okay, and never really thought so much about the weight, but the weight, like Wayne was saying, the weight is quite something. They're really light, and the nylon, okay, is so strong. I mean, Jesus Christ! I mean, it's incredibly strong, this stuff, and I could even carve the wheel out even more to take even more weight out of it. But you know, I'm just trying to get the weight, get them so where I know who can print them, what they are, and what I have to do them to make them into, you know, usable car wheels. So it's going good.
Or just for grins, I weighed a normal slotted 15 by 8 wheel, and it's at 1.47 grams.
Yeah,
so that'll give you.
That's not a light wheel, Michael.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Agreed.
It's not an air wheel. It doesn't have all kinds of holes in it for lightning and stuff. But like an NSR air wheel that's got holes probably weighs half that.
1.1, I think, an NSR air wheel at 17.3 diameter.
Really? Wow, that's heavier than I thought it would be.
But I think the lightest are slotting.
0.95 for the NSR.
Yeah, 0.95 for the NSRs.
To me,
and that's with a insert.
To me, it really isn't the weight; it's the design. Okay, it allows you to now. The idea behind the start of the project was design. You could design a wheel, any kind of wheel that you liked, and other people could print it either for you or for them or whatever, you know what I mean? And so you got a large variety of different types, okay? Yet you get, if you use the aluminum hub, you get the advantage of being able to
Are you testing those wheels on Sidewinder cars or inline cars?
These two test cars are both Sidewinders, okay?
Okay, so you're getting down to the minimum, to the correct widths with the wheels on?
Keeping the wheels under the body?
Yes. Just as they were, you know,
yeah,
standard car, okay, before the, you know, I mean, they basically replaced those cars in my genre of slot racing, all had CV design 17.25 wheels on them. That's what these wheels are with the hub.
And you could probably design a hub that's meant to be a hubless hub insert, you know, so that it goes into the wheel area like the hubless wheels are. You would just have to design the plastic accordingly so that it would not have the hub on the outside of the plastic.
Yeah. Did you notice that he specifically designed very deep dish wheels with the spokes at the back? And I know,
yep,
at the back of the barrel rather than at the face of the barrel.
Yes, that's the trick is the design. Okay, that's what I wanted. Okay, you know what I mean. And the fact that it's the weight benefit is that all the weight is inboard. You know, so I mean, there's things that it does that, you know, I could care less whether it did or not. Okay, but it's a pretty cool exercise.
It is.
I plan to get some. I think it's cool. 'Cause I'll be able to fix some of my plastic where you can only have plastic wheels. So
yeah,
I've got a lot of plastic wheels that are now wobbly. So hopefully that'll fix them up.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of plastic wheels. I love plastic wheels. I don't get to use them as often as I'd like to, and that's an opportunity.
You know, talk about reinventing the wheel. I call the project the Great Reinvent the Wheel Project, but I'm surprised. You know, somebody else must have done this before, because I'm sure this is not the first time anybody thought of it. You know, but I don't know. You know, maybe. You know.
We've tried to fix them. We've never gone to this length, though.
Well, you can do things. I've seen this concept, you know,
Wait till Jim Rose gets a hold of it. You know.
You can stick a scale electric wheel into a lathe if you've got one, and then you can run a drill through it, and you can sleeve it with brass tube, and then you can glue it to your axle, and you can repair a wheel that way.
Yeah. Or you could get Dennis to make the inserts for you too.
or you can. Garth's coming up with the next product. The product that sorts it all for you.
And get yours from Ranch Design Steve on HRW.
Ranch, I highly recommend. The guy has got. I don't know if anybody will even know what this is, but he's got a. He's another one of these slot car rocket scientist guys, you know, like all the rest of these guys on this thing. And he's got a hard-hinge lathe. Has anybody ever heard of it? It's really, really high quality, old school lathe, but he also is an electronics whiz with machine controls. And he's got it all decked out with CNC stuff that it just stupefies me what he's doing with the damn thing. So it was, you know, and I have a really close friend who has, like I said, a CNC shop, and I go there and I say, I want these wheels. And he says, how much can you buy them for? And I say, you know, $8 or $15. And he whips out his wallet and throws the money down on the table. Just get out of my shop. I don't want to do slot car wheels. I don't make enough money doing them, you know. But Steve is a slot car guy, so that's the other thing about it. So,
well, as we said many times, this is a great hobby to lose money at.
No, I think he does okay. You know, he's Ranch Design is a 143rd. You know, and he's been shut down for a good long time because 143rd parts and the scale hasn't produced a lot of builders and so on and so forth lately. But he's kind of gearing it back up again. So wheels and tires and things. So.
Yeah, there was a time that a lot of guys who were building 60s F1 cars, even 32nd scale, would use a lot of the Ranch Design gears. But they haven't been around for, God, 7 or 8, 10 years, I would guess.
Welcome back, Chris.
I have kind of an inroad to him a little bit, and you can be persuaded to build wheels if you want to design some wheels. So,
welcome back, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, I think
well, hold on. Chris was always here. He was just being very, very quiet.
That's it.
He stayed away because he was tired of repeating himself.
How's the hip, Chris?
Both of them were excellent.
Good. Nice
Awesome.
to hear it.
All right. Thank you for sharing, Garth. And let us move on to Maurer. Mr. Maurer, Mike, go ahead and share what you're going to share.
Well, I've got
some more cars?
Yeah, I got another car.
Of course you do.
Mike.
Sideways McLaren 720S. I've been waiting with bated breath for the liveried ones because I'm a terrible modeler. And this thing blew me away. It was fast right out of the box, was competitive just with sanding the tires and loosening the pod screws. It was amazing. It was right down to my lowest lap times for my GT3 type cars, for the modern GT cars. It was great. Magless, Chris.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah,
60% of my cars are magless now.
We've got him converted.
Yeah, sort of. I still have one guy that I race with that's magnets, so there, but it's really nice. I really, really like the car. Scale wise,
show the front end. Oh yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, it's a pretty car. It does it for me. The livery is a fantasy livery, according to some people, which they're upset with. But it's close enough to the Yoda livery that it doesn't bother me especially, and it's no big deal. It's done well. It's clean, and a great car. And like I said, even with stock tires out of the box, no inserts in the air wheels or anything like that, it was fast. It lost its first race by 1.5 feet. And that was because I screwed up in the last corner. So
what will cost you?
Yeah,
Is it still running the 1700 RPM, 17K RPM? Mark?
Yes. Yeah, that's all my GT3 cars are running that. I've converted all of them to use that because it's such a sweet motor. Although I'm going to try the Scale Auto motor and see how that works. They've got an 18,000 long can. So I've converted via Chris's idea to angle winders and long cans because of the magnetic force on them on the track, and it works real well. So he was definitely right. I have more trouble with the side winders than I do with the angle winders, getting them to run magless. But yeah, I love it.
So you are running with magnets. You're lying to me.
No, well,
teeny weeny bit of magnets.
Only the magnet that's in the motor.
Yeah.
So, Michael, when you go to the 17K, what are y'all using for wattage and voltage?
Well, let's see. Hang on, let me look it up. It's in my notes here.
What motor does it come with?
It comes with a 17,000 baby Raptor.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it comes with.
I think the regular Raptor is what, 21.5?
All of the sideways GT3s, with the exception of the carbon fiber Huracan, I think every other one I've seen has had the baby Raptor 17.5.
Yeah, and it's a nice motor. I like it a lot.
I guess I don't have a sideways.
Sorry, I'll get back to you on what voltage I'm running. I've got to look for it.
Mike, that red splitter on the front of the car, is it on the body shell or is it on the chassis?
It is on the chassis.
Mm-hmm.
So
and does the motor
there's screws on the chassis to limit the movement. You can see them, the little holes in the front and on the rear.
Yeah. Where are the rear ones? Oh yeah, just either side of the behind the motor pod. Yeah.
The rear ones, the rear ones are actually in the diffuser, the rear diffuser.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah.
And the body shell sits down on those.
Yeah, there's a little shelf on the inside.
Yeah.
That sits down, so you can control the body movement with that.
Oh, that's really nice. And what does that car weigh?
Well, it's chipped, so it's going to lie.
Yeah, okay. So it's about, is it electric digital? So you'll be about 3 to 3.2 grams over.
So it's 8820 with the chip in it, and probably a little bit of hot. I've got some hot glue to hold the wires together, and the chip weighs 2.62 grams. So if you add a little bit for the, it's probably 3 grams with the connectors that come with it, because I've made it so you can pull a chip out of it if you want to.
So we're looking at out of the box about 85 area, 85 to 86.
Yeah, around the 85 grams, yeah, which is pretty standard. Most of the other sideways cars that I've got are right around there, 85 to 87 grams in that range.
Yeah, mine came in at 86 with my paint. I started with a white kit and painted it, and it was 86 when I was done.
Yeah, so yeah, and I like them. They're all pretty equal. The Ford GT and the Huracan are just as quick. I can't get the NSRs to go quite as quickly and consistently as the sideways cars, but I'm working on it. I've got a Nissan Gtr coming. I'm going to see how that works. I'm going to convert that to this. I've got a sideways Baby Raptor motor for it, and I'm going to convert that to that motor in an angle winder configuration and see how that works with it. Now that I haven't put suspension in any of the sideways cars yet, but I'm gonna see how it works. First, I want to get them all fairly equal for the 3 of us to race, and then I'm gonna try and experiment and make them faster.
Hey, Mike, I want to know what kind of math you use to come up with 60%, 63% of all your cars are no mag.
He wants to know how many cars you have now.
Use like Himalayan math or something.
He has 100 cars.
60, yeah, I said 60%. What was that?
He has 100 cars.
And 60 of them are magless. Perfect, easy math.
Actually, I have 185 and about.
No, that was a month ago. So now that's about 200.
Well, yeah, actually, I've got 2 more since then. So
yeah, hey, I'm keeping track, Mike.
Hey, Mike, have you
did something different on the same car. I made it a sidewinder.
And
I glued it pod.
Yes, and I glued it all together because on the wooden track it didn't do.
Yep.
It's too flexible.
Yeah.
For the
scale electrics.
I bought this one now.
Okay.
It's the red one, the red chassis. So that has to be tougher.
Yeah. When you glued that, did that help it on the track then? Have you noticed results?
Yeah, a bit, because you get rid of a lot of movement.
Okay. Yeah, I have the same car.
For me, the more movement, the better.
Maybe on Ninko, maybe on Carrera, but not on a wooden track.
Oh.
No, not on a wooden track.
No, because it's gonna slip out in the corners.
Michael's on Scale Electric, one of the slipperier plastic tracks.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, have you run one of those sideways Daytona prototypes?
Yep. The sideways, actually, I wasn't real happy with that. Yeah. But I haven't come back to it in quite a while.
Those are basically slotted Group C cars. I was disappointed in those, but they've made a lot of advances since those were like their first mass-produced plastic cars was the Daytona prototypes from sideways. Yeah. So yeah, they were basically slotted cars. So they are what they are.
Yeah. But I've retrofitted most of my Group 5s now with angle winders back and experimented a little bit with the chassis that came with them, and they're better than they were originally. So I may go back to the DPs later on and see what they're like. Actually, the Scale Electric Daytona prototypes are really excellent magless out of the box. Surprisingly, they're really well balanced cars. So we'll see. I'll see if I can get parity among them and get them to be equal and then run them with the group of the guys. Another class.
You drive on a collector's tracker, a Plastica?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, Greg's got a YouTube video of my track up on his site.
Okay.
With magnet
running
cars.
the magnet cars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing 4.2 laps with those things, and the magnet cars, the Thunder slots are doing 7.4 with no magnets in them.
Mm.
So
And
that's
to be
the
fair-
difference. About 3 seconds a lap, and I think it's 85 feet long.
To be fair to Mike, that was quite a while ago at this point, and he's gotten a lot deeper into non-mag. And even at that point, after I took that video, we went to his other track and did non-mag cars on the other track and had a blast there too. So
yeah,
he's a good boy. He's doing good.
One of us. One of us.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Mike. Anybody else got any questions for Mike before we move on? All right. Thanks for sharing, Mike. And Bill, what's up today?
Well, okay. You guys can hear me?
Yep.
All right. So I haven't shown this before, but I figured it's a good time. I'm in a good spot with the track. It's been about 6 months since you guys have seen it. And I've run a lot of, kind of resorted things, moved things around and everything. And I have some altitude on it. I'm going to give a trigger warning. If you're a purist, just look the other way. My beliefs are that, my memories, I guess, of racing, it's mostly branding. It's a lot of racing fast cars, branding and decor.
As long as
So
you're having fun, that's all that matters.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's fun. It keeps me busy. So I'm going to try to pick this camera up. I've got an extension on it. If I flame out on this, I'm sorry. But I will get this going. All right. Welcome to my garage. And if you look over here, I'm going to get back a little bit because it takes quite a bit. So you've got, that is the, it's reversed the camera on me.
We're seeing it perfectly though. It does reverse on yours, Bill.
Okay, yeah. You can see here. Oh, hold on.
You've had a lot of snow this year.
Sorry, I'm having to do everything in reverse and my brain just doesn't work.
Is that in the North Atlantic?
Yeah, I haven't painted a bit of it yet. So that's all essentially, geez. I'm just gonna not look at the screen and just show you guys. So basically most of this has been plastered at this point. I've got a foam base to it. And then I put, plaster cloth on it. And then I have done some finishing with some joint compound. I still have a lot more work to do on that, but I've gotten the bones in. Then down here, you can see I've made a lot of tires. I just kept the 3D printer busy for no reason at all. There's a mountain right here. It has a hook in it. And that's because in about a year and a half now I'm moving. And so I have to be cognizant as I build this as to how to just disassemble it. So then going over here, this is more the brunt of the work. So you've got essentially this overpass that comes up through here, banks around to this mountain where you've got a tunnel. I also have just the underpass here. This was the hardest work. I still have a lot of work to do on that.
It's the Matterhorn.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is absolutely. As soon as I paint it, it'll be a lot better. And then beyond that, you've got your stalactites. Nice. I happened to be working on it, and it was what I told John. I said it was a happy mistake. I just kind of came across it. I said, why not? So,
Bill, you just have to have Adam West hanging upside down in there.
There you go.
I'm good. You know what? Don't tempt me because I like I said, I'm not a purist. I just enjoy what I'm doing with it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So, and you got these.
Could you put a fake marina with some fake boats in it for us?
Yeah.
That'd be right on topic.
Do all those street lights work?
Yes. Here, let me actually.
Bill, I saw a treadmill over there. Is that how you power the track?
Oh, what's that? I have no idea. Yeah, I should have put that on actually.
Oh, those look awesome.
That's wonderful. Now, what's powering them?
You know the prices of electric are going to the roof at the moment.
Yeah.
I was about to say electricity.
It is. So it's. I bought the set from Slot Car Space Solutions.
Right.
And sorry, this camera is not my friend. Yeah, basically, I got that. Almost 6 months ago, and I really enjoy having them on there. I've had to take them on and off a number of times. That was the project that taught me how to solder. So, essentially every one of these has really been a lesson that I've been taught in something, whether it's, plaster or wiring, soldering, 3D printing, particularly, lots of stuff. There are problems in the track, but nothing of severe consequence. Nothing that's going to be a real problem.
Bill, is that latex?
Oh yes. So yeah, in fact, so when I last talked to you guys a couple of weeks ago, I was asking you about painting the track. Yeah, I've painted the track. It's awesome. Thank you guys.
Good grip.
And you could see there it's pretty. It's it kept the texture in there pretty darn well.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I think I might do differently on it is, and I'm not even sure if I would, is maybe paint them individually instead of in strips, in long stretches. Because I do have a little bit of connectivity. I know I've got some power. I'm losing some power somewhere. On the track connections. So I'm probably going to have to disconnect a few of them and, kind of isolate where the problem is, just where where the car lags out a little bit. So
I gather you run predominantly, all your cars with magnets?
No. I have some with magnets and I have some without.
And how do you find the track without any borders?
Oh yeah, without any borders?
Right.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't see any borders on the corners.
There are no borders on the corners currently. Now, yeah, I mean, it's a tight track. So on the bottom, in fact, these are Greg's, these fences are, and, walls are Greg's 3D design. You can find this on his Thingiverse.
Yeah.
And I tried a couple of different designs. They worked great. And but I will tell you that, I mean, my cars may look decent now, but in a while, you're going to see some of them on the outsides of these, of those, of that fence, for sure.
So, the beauty of borders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have so then I turned 48 last week. And so this was the present that I got. So that's a laser cutter.
Oh, cool.
And that's the next project, and that will essentially I'll be able to start working more in here.
And did you do a spider web under your track?
A spider web?
Yeah. Is it? You said you have some problems with
power taps.
Oh yeah, no, not yet, not yet, and that is going to happen next. Just based on I'm gonna. Wow, look at that zoom on me. Yeah, you can just totally okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my video for a second.
So one of my questions, so what Chris was getting at is when you're doing non-mag on a track with no borders, the cars are, gonna drop a wheel off the edge or hit the walls a lot because you've got no sliding room. But you run primarily 1/32 cars. Do you run 1/24 at all?
I don't do any 1/24th currently, but basically my plan is I've got a fair amount of the, balsa wood in here. I have a fair amount of, I'm going to be doing a fair amount of shoulder work. That's really the next step is I had to paint the track, which, I did off the track, and then I put it back on. And then essentially around there, then I'm going to build up the, essentially the sides of the road around it. What I decided on this one, and it really was a little bit painful, but not too bad, is I looked at the track and said, do I ever want to move this again? And I said, well, nope, I don't think so. And, that's really the thing is the way I want to do it, if I'm going to do it, I want to basically plaster it in and have really, just your standard decor and all of that. Not that the shoulders don't work. I have them. I just don't like them as much. And, I'd rather do something if it means that my car flips out into the trees. I invariably will build catches for everything by the time it's done, or I'll put buildings along the outside of the track. So, only spectators are taken out.
Yeah.
Well, the painting
sliding room with the 132nd cars give you a little bit of sliding room, but
yeah,
if you wanted to, you could ride the wall. But yeah.
I'm sure there will be some adjustments to it, and yeah, it's a tight track. When I had my buddy over Sunday, that was this was the first weekend that we were able to race analog, and it was great. But yeah, it was tight. We were definitely, I think we threw each other off maybe 2 or 3 times through the afternoon and everything. The key things, I just told him, I said, hey, I don't have any sort of, parachute for anything here in terms of these corners. Go slow around these corners or I'll kill you. And it's about all it took.
Well, Bill, that's like an old school circuit though. If you go off, you pay the consequence.
Yeah. The problem is I pay the consequences. They're my cars.
You're paying. It's your wallet.
Yeah.
I got to tell you that the painting turned out really well. It looks fabulous.
Thank you. Well, so the white is just the plaster. I still have to paint all of that. But yeah, the rest of it, just having some of that brown in there, made it nice kind of during the.
No, I'm sorry. I meant your track. You did a really good job.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That went easier than I thought. I was sitting there going, really? But the taping was so miserable. If you can get through the taping, the rest of it, the payoff's great. So, and I somehow this is a great exercise in patience for me. So,
but it's like talking to anybody who's a professional painter. They'll tell you the prep is awful, but the painting's easy.
Yep. Oh, but I love it. I still have a few places, I have to detail where the paint, it's come up in a couple of spots, just in moving it around, that sort of thing. But love it so far. And I have a ton more to do, but it's kind of like, okay, now there's, I had bones before. I think I showed you some foam stacked foam and some track on it and all of that. And it's like, there were the bones. Now I have some muscle mass on it. And now next comes the skin. So not to make it gross.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I rewatched last week's chat for what I missed when my dog was jumping all over me. And I saw you mention that you had the PC cable for your track, and you had a question about that. Did you still have any questions about that?
Oh, from I think 2 weeks ago, I think. I don't have any at this point. I talked to Jeremy because in doing the analog, or I messaged him just a little while ago. In doing the analog racing, I was able to confirm, I can't count laps, and so I'm going to build it. And that's something I do know how to do to some degree. With the Arduino, I've got a couple sitting around, and so I just said, hey, send me in the right direction. And so he sent me to the Race Commander or RC website. I think that's Race.
Okay, because you're not gonna do a chip the lane for analog. You're gonna do separate analog controllers and power.
Right now, I've got it just with the tech slots box. I don't have any plans to do analog controllers at this point. I will.
So you know how TechSlots does the analog lap counting, right?
There are the chips inside the box. Yeah, I'm essentially lane chipping.
But they take the IR LED from the chip and put it under the track right next to the sensor that the digital cars are projecting to as they go across. And then on the analog cars, you put some reflective tape just on the chassis. So as they pass over, it's reflecting the IR from the chip back down to the sensor.
Oh, I gotcha.
So that would work with basically everything you have. So if you have a TechSlots box but without the analog lap counting, you can just basically desolder the LED from the chip, stick some wires on it, and stick it up under the track right next to the sensor.
I gotcha.
Now you've got analog lap counting.
Huh. I'll definitely, I'm going to have to read into it a little bit, but you're sending me in the right direction. I think I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, there's a post on the Digital Slot Car Public Facebook group where a guy built his own TechSlots type box, and he also did the infrared extension thing to do that. Okay. I didn't even know about it until he had done it, and I'm like, yeah. Oh, that's a fantastic idea. But what I was asking was, you had asked, like, you had gotten a PC link cable for your control unit, and you're wondering about what can you do with that? So you know that you can use that for Bruce Yingling's HSS RMS.
Yep, tried that.
Lap counter. Okay.
Yeah, I've done Ultimate Racer and I always get that one. The other one, the HRMSSS, whatever. Yep.
HSS RMS.
Yeah.
I don't know what the HSS stands for, but I remember it because RMS is race management system.
Yeah.
I think PC Lap Counter also has a support for Carrera Digital, and there's a race coordinator that is there's a Carrera Digital beta of race coordinator that might be worth trying as well.
Okay, I'll take a look. And that's Jeremy sent me to race coordinator. That's who he was recommending. So perfect.
Yep. It's a great program. So if the Carrera Digital one works, that's certainly worth trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Good stuff. All right, Mr. Young, it is your turn. What you got to share today, Don?
All right. Well, while browsing through the junkyards like I like to do, I found a nice old relic.
Ooh. Pretty.
Is that that's the Carrera?
Yes, it is. Now, this car, as you can see, looks operational, and it is. But when I received it, the view that you would see here from the side was tires melting down this side and down across the chassis. And it was just a complete gobbledygook all the way across through here of melted tires.
Classic Carrera.
And obviously the person that owned it didn't want to mess with it, so for $15 it is now mine.
Nice.
I cleaned all the crap off of it and put some new tires on it, and now I have me another car for my friends to drive.
That's the Smokey and the Bandit car, right?
Yes. It's the 77 Pontiac Firebird.
Yep. It's the Smokey and the Bandit car without having to pay the rights.
There you go.
Yeah, the guy inside actually has a cowboy hat on.
Yeah,
so.
Very Bruce Reynolds looking guy, but not officially Bruce Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Burt Reynolds at all. No,
Burt Reynolds, sorry, not Bruce. Burt.
After getting it all cleaned up, I mean, cleaning the wheels was a nightmare, but once I got all that crap off of it and cleaned up, it actually runs pretty good, as good as any other Carrera car. So
where'd you
actually, I think Greg might have something there. We should call him Bruce Reynolds, and then we don't have to worry about rights.
Sure, okay, yeah, that works for me. That's what I meant to say the whole time. That's what I meant the whole time. But my question was, where did you get the tires? Are those Carrera tires, or did you get them from like Paul Gage or?
They're actually just a pair of used tires that fit.
Nice.
From another junkyard by that I bought. So, you know, I have a whole box full of tires now. So they may not be the most perfect, but since I'm not driving professionally and neither are any of my friends, it don't make any difference whether it's good tires or bad tires, they're going to wreck.
As long as they're not melted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
But anyway, that's all I got.
That's the license plate.
What's that?
What does the license plate read?
It's missing.
Oh, I think it's supposed to say Bandit.
Yeah, it is, but we didn't want to pay the rights, Dwan.
Oh, the entire back bumper is missing. Oh man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have the same car, but I think mine says Bandit.
But that's good, you know.
Okay,
it's
hold on.
just another less part to fall off when they wreck it. So
that's the original. So what's it say? Eat my dust or something? Like
Eastbound, I think.
Eastbound?
Yeah. It's EASD BND.
Yeah,
so I would suspect it's eastbound.
Yeah.
It's from the song.
Eastbound and down. Poor Jerry Reed got so ripped off.
Well, good job on that restoration, Don.
That looks great.
Great looking car and a great deal on that car too. Good stuff. All right, well, I guess it's time for my show and tell, so I'll go ahead and do a quick screen share. This won't take more than a minute or two. I was having fun, and the using a sponge obviously works, but I didn't want to sit there daubing a sponge on my tires, so I propped up my a dish with some water and let the tires go, and it actually worked pretty good. The problem was that I was just using my train transformer, an old Lionel train transformer that works fantastically for the tire truer, but at a really low voltage, it didn't have enough oomph to get the tires going when they're under pressure on the sandpaper. So basically, I had the speed set so it was low but fast enough to move the wheels when it was under pressure. But the problem is when I walked away, come back 10 minutes later, and the tires have been sanded to that level, it speeds up. So I come back to water splattered everywhere because it sped up enough to splash water everywhere. But it worked really well, and of course this kept the motors and wires out of the water. And yeah, we don't need to see a video of it, but other than the splashed water, it worked pretty good. But yeah, if you really need to be doing something else and you don't mind a little bit of splashed water, that works. But if you just want to get them done, then you might as well just sit there daubing the water on the tires.
I think it might be time for you to design a 3D printed tray for all the tire truers with a splash guard.
You know what? That'll be a show and tell in a few weeks' time, probably.
Yeah.
Because of course that thought occurred to me because after I had done that experimenting and I was getting ready, those were the front wheels of a Revo slot, so probably a bit harder and probably didn't really need that water treatment anyways. I was going to do the back wheels of the same car, but then my little prop that I had just quickly printed out to hold it up with some blue tack stuck to the bottom of the dish, that failed. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'll just do it, with the manually. But then I realized, you know what? I could just design something that is, holds it at the right angle and holds the tire truer right there and has, a water level indicator to say, don't fill up past this point.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, you could call it the Esther Williams.
Dennis is showing off something. What are you showing off, Dennis? I'm going to spotlight you now.
You need to replace the water with NSR oil.
Oh no, that'd be a much messier mess.
Which is basically just 3-in-1 oil. So save your money.
Well, it worked. I mean, it worked, and I could I could walk away and then come back 10 minutes later and turn the knob a teeny bit, and then walk away, and the tires didn't turn gummy. So, experiment success. We'll see where that takes me in the future.
What you could do is take like from a cat waterer, like if you have a cat at home or something. But you have two nozzles that just slowly drip over each tire as it does that. And
yeah, but that's electronics, and I'm not getting into that. I'll 3D print till cows come home, but I'm not going to get into electronic stuff.
No, that's hydraulics.
Yeah, but you got to design something that will control the pump and make it go the appropriate.
True enough. True enough.
The bar that goes across there on the, I had experimented with this a while back, and I'd cut out like a half moon shape to put water in, and then put my pads down first, and then the water in there. But since it was 3D printed, it was never accurate enough. I always wondered if somebody could CNC something like that, because it's just that if you just replace that bar and put water in the bar, you'd be good to go. You wouldn't have to have the whole setup. But
I have the sandpaper down in where the water is.
Yeah, in the kind of like a moon shape well for it, and your tires would just kind of lower in there into the water and then touch your sanding pad. But without a CNC, it's I can't do it.
Yeah,
that's two truer products right there, Greg.
I could just, I mean, honestly, a new sanding plate with the little troughs for the sandpaper and the water would be very quick and easy to do as far as design and printing and testing. But I'd still have the issue of I need to try my other power supply where I can actually crank up the amps and have the volts down low, but have a good amount of amps to keep the tire going at a slow speed and have it not speed up too much once it's not under pressure anymore. So that'll be the next test, I guess. But yeah, a 3D printed sanding plate with water trough would be probably the quicker way to do it. Good idea, Jeremy. Thank you. Well, I'm done, so let's move on to Mr. Sampson, who raised his hand. Go ahead, Dennis.
I hope you guys can hear me. I'm having a lot of trouble with my system today and getting really bad audio at my end, but I hope you guys can hear me okay.
So probably the best thing to do is I'm going to turn off your video unless you're going to hold something up to the camera.
I'm just about to show you something, so I'll probably need to turn from one camera to another.
Oh, okay.
Let's try this and see what's going. You guys were talking about tire truers, and have a look at this.
I do not recognize that machine.
Probably not, because it's the only one, because I just finished making it.
Oh,
right.
This is entering the market.
No, I just wanted to make one. So basically, it's a combination of a bunch of different ideas. And the major idea here is to have two drums to grind two tires at once, but to be able to put an axle into the cradle so that we can cut two tires the same way as we do on a tire raiser or an Area 3 or whatever. I have a little, you can see it there. I just have a little stud there so I can store it. But there's the pulley that would go onto the axle, and that would be fed through this. Oh, hang on, I'm not very good at this. That would be fed through this O-ring in the middle here.
Yep.
Right, which would then come across in between these two, and then this moves this way, and then I have two settings, one with a hand wheel, and this one, which will probably be, I could set it in a particular position so that I can use this one to repeat settings from one set to another if need be.
Good.
I like it.
And so that's what I've been working on. You have no idea how much aluminum filings and shavings there were around my garage.
Yes, I do. I've never done it, but I've seen enough video.
Oh my goodness, because it was made from the base plate's a piece of 1/4-inch aluminum, but the side plates were some 1-inch square tubing, aluminum square tubing that had to be cut, and then this section here, the saddle, or whatever you want to call it, that was cut from the same thing, but I had to mill it down on the sides and so on. A lovely engineering project that took me 2 weeks or so. I just thought I'd let you guys see that. I have worked with it already. I've used it a little bit. It grinds like two front tires at once, to within 1/1000th in diameter of each other, which I'm very happy with. Basically, the way that I did that was I started grinding and measuring, and then I started filing on these little angles in here that hold the where the bushings go, until I was getting exactly the same size left and right.
Nice.
Are those push-off, pull-on sanding drums, Dennis?
No, they are actually pieces of sandpaper. This one's already coming up a little bit. They're just 1-inch sections cut from a 6-inch diameter disc sander sanding disc that already has adhesive backing on them. And then you just cut them with an angle and wrap them around. That one was a little short by about 1/16 of an inch, but the other side is pretty well perfect.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for a long time on the hoodies and other things, so I just did it again on this one.
Yeah.
And that's 80 grit on there, so it cuts pretty well.
Oh, perfect. Well, the best thing, as you know, is that counter rotates against the tires, which is
correct.
The best tire treader you can get.
And if I want to put in a little bit of side-to-side play, apart from, of course, what's between the bearings on the axle, I could actually loosen off these little collars down the bottom here, and that would give me a little bit of side-to-side play as well.
Nice.
But mostly there's enough movement because it's just an inch between those, or just over an inch between those two.
Yeah, perfect.
Anyway, so that's me for today.
That's great. I like that design for a whole axle truer.
I personally dislike the concept of those sliding plates.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, so how do I do it without those sliding plates?
Yeah.
And of course, this is not it's you know, the design is not entirely mine, because this concept of two drums and grinding two tires is there's another one out of Chicago that does that for foam tires, 1/24 scale.
Yeah.
But how do you change that center O-ring if it breaks?
There are set screws that hold the drums on.
Yeah.
And so you loosen the set screws, you pull the axle out, and you take off and you put a new one on, and you slide it all back together again.
Good.
I think pretty much any truer that counter rotates the tires against the sanding surface does inherently a much better job than only one rotating surface.
Anyway,
yeah,
there it is.
That's great.
That's me for today.
Good job, Dennis.
Thank you.
It looks like at first glance, I thought you'd found an old, because it was all aluminum, I've got a couple of old Rightways downstairs that sort of look similar.
Uh-huh.
Is that
with two drums?
No, not two drums, but when I saw the aluminum base plate and the aluminum sides,
yeah,
all the old Rightways were like that.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Dennis, can I have one by next week?
If I ever get to the point of having them made, I'll let you guys know. But at the moment, I'm certainly not going to try and make it at home. It was just way too much work. I just actually reached behind me and picked out the 1/24 scale version. Let me start that camera again.
There's an organization over there called Send Cut Send, where you can send diagrams and they'll send you pieces of metal back.
Okay, so that's the 1/24 version.
This is the 1/24 version, and basically this one, in fact, has a 110 volt AC motor on it, and it drives through the center as well as driving the axle. But that just makes everything too wide for 1/32 scale.
Yeah.
So that's why I did mine the other way around. You can probably see the difference.
But you also can't put a Scalextric type axle onto that other machine.
No, I can't put it onto that one. No, I couldn't. I guess I could have made another saddle, but it might have been a problem.
Honestly, I don't see any big reason to. You know, if you've got it set so that both wheels hit at the same time, then you can slap metal wheels on a spare axle with some spare bushing.
Oh, yeah, you don't need to do it with metal wheels.
That 124 looks like it has a lot of horsepower. Do you really need that much for? Aren't you doing foam tires on the 124s?
You are. It's I think the 110 volt thing is just for pure convenience at home. I actually have a complete set of 12 volt brackets and motor that would go on the back of this one instead of this, if I wanted to change it back again. But it's too big and heavy to be taking around, to be carrying around in a race box anyway. I have a hoodie that'll do that. But it's nice at home especially when you're doing lots of wheels at once, which happens. Anyway,
well, that's a great design. I think if I'm going to design a 3D printed tire true, it's going to be something closer to that than the Tire Razor Tire True RSM design, because that's just better. I like that. That's good stuff. Thanks for sharing, Dennis. All right, and Mr. Rose has his hand up. What's up, Jim?
Well, this is more in the genre of Club Corner, which I guess we're at right now.
Might as well, yeah.
I'm still recovering from a long weekend. It was Friday at Sonoma Raceway, which you see in my background, Saturday slot cars, and Sunday back to Sonoma Raceway. So here's a little bit of what my weekend was. There were slot cars at Sonoma Raceway, and this guy races quite a bit on the West Coast. They did vintage Trans Am along with the it was actually a Trans Am weekend, and then vintage Trans Am was part of that. Scale Electrics makes that, and I think Carrera makes this. So there were some slot cars out there at Sonoma Racing, as well as one car that you may have seen before, and nobody makes a slot car of it, but it's weird enough. I thought you might want to see it. It's a '63 Falcon GT1 car that actually beat the Porsche 935 because it's considerably faster. So they had some weird cars there, as well as the vintage cars. And then on to Saturday, which is more on topic for what we're doing here, we had a race at Grizzly Mountain Raceway, and it was the first time I'd ever run a DTM car. So I basically set it up like my Group C car, took the tires off my Group C car, put it on this, and was able to win that race. But it's a tough place to race with the local guys that were very, very fast. Our second race was NSR F1. And then he does have a kind of unique park fermé for the podium. So you can see the cars as well as the results. And then the last race of the weekend was GT. I took my GT car that I'd raced at Electric Dreams, which is an angle winder, which is required of Electric Dreams. And it definitely got outclassed by some Sidewinder cars, but that was the car I had to race, so I raced it. Was able to salvage a second place out of that, but the scale auto cars with a 25 and 30K Sidewinder motors were considerably faster lap time wise. So they ran really well. So that was my weekend of racing, 2 different locations over 3 days. And then finally, I've got my race now that I'm a race promoter coming up this weekend at Motown Raceway in Modesto, which is about an hour south of Sacramento. We've got 4 or 5 people coming up from the Electric Dreams group, the Bay Area group, and the Sacramento group. And so we're looking forward to having a great race on a full commercial track. We're running 6 lanes, the center 6 lanes on this track, which used to be in Southern California. And so that's my weekend from last weekend and my weekend for next weekend.
Fun, and tired.
tired, yeah, definitely. It's setting up 3 or 4 loaner cars for this weekend for people that are from the raceway that don't have cars. So I've got 3 loaner cars for each class set up so they can play with us.
Yeah, I wish I was at my aunt's house. She lives in Patterson.
Close. Catch a flight on Friday.
There you
go. Yeah, right.
Saturday.
Go for
the last time I was there was 1973.
Yeah, it's changed a bit.
He may not recognize you now.
All right.
I love that photograph behind your head with the BRE Datsun.
That was from the same weekend. I wish somebody would make this because there are tons of liveries out there.
Yeah,
I know there's some resin bodies, but
there's a guy in New Zealand makes a resin body in 132.
So there's a couple of guys in Northern California. This is not an original car. This was Greg. If you could put that back up for just a second.
You're still up.
Oh,
no, I'm not.
I missed.
There you go.
This is not an original car. There's probably 15, at least 510s on any given weekend out in Northern California. This is not an original car, but it's original livery. Oh, they changed the number to 48 for some reason. But there's so many liveries for these with the BRE cars, the Bob Sharp cars. This car right here, which you can't really see, is a Paul Newman livery when he ran a Datsun 510. So I can't imagine why somebody's not doing this. There's lots of liveries. It would be immensely popular, I would think.
I think maybe RevoSlot might, if they're starting with the Alpha the Alpha GTAs and then the Escorts.
It would go perfect in that class or in these genre cars.
Yeah.
You got the Alpha, you got the BMW,
and then the Escort and the
RMS resins can make that.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's been some resin bodies out there of it, but I'm just kind of flabbergasted by nobody's, like Carrera or Scale Electrics or whoever hasn't done this.
Well, hopefully supposed to hand that off somewhere. So I don't know if they were going to do those 3D or not. David from RMS Resins was supposed to hand some of that stuff off.
He did.
Let people do stuff.
David Reinicke sold that mold, or he sold the rights to that mold to John Warren in New Zealand, and he's been making them. He still makes them. I have one.
I just think it would be a huge success sales-wise for Carrera or Scale Electrics or somebody like that.
I would think so. I think there's a bunch of cars in that under 2 liter Trans Am that would be nice to have.
Well, they out here
the 240Z
on the West Coast, they actually call that run group for the vintage car. They call it the Morton Cup.
That's cool.
It's highly, there's lots of cars, and they race. A lot of vintage races are kind of just show and tell kind of things. They actually race. And quite honestly, most of the cars aren't historic. They are vintage because they're brand new race cars, brand new Datsun 510s. But there's a few historic ones there. So
all original, like the Whitman's X, right?
Yeah. So it's a fun class to watch.
It's still the original X. It's had 5 handles and 3 heads.
Actually, John's Duetto would be in that class.
Oh, that's right. You would, yeah.
John's Alpha, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a great car to do. And if you could get the RevoSlot chassis from the other Alpha and adapt the RevoSlot chassis for it, that would be a great car.
Looks like I'm gluing some doors.
Well, it may. We'll just have to wait and see how close to scale the RevoSlot Alpha is.
May 22nd, I think it's supposed to be in.
It's supposed to be in scale, but you never know what their interpretation of scale is.
No, I mean, the May 22nd is the date that it's supposed to be released.
Oh, sorry. My sound is giving me trouble.
Hey, Jim, I'm going to still try to make that race on the 7th.
Great. We're going to be there on Friday practicing from 4 p.m. on, and then the race starts, or the doors open to the shop at 10 a.m. and the race is at noon.
Okay. I don't know if I'll make it Friday, but I'm still going to try to make it Saturday.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Jim. And Big Dan, you got your hand up. What's up in your neck of the woods?
Well, Club Corner for me started off with a bit of a disappointment because the racing we were due to have in Grumpy's Garage on Saturday was cancelled or postponed for a couple of weeks because there were so many dropouts that it wouldn't have been viable to actually race. So, but there was some light came out or something nice came out of it. He did open the track for a couple of hours for practice, and I'd set up a second chassis for my NSR F1 because I'd found that on the tight, smaller tracks that the motor in them, the 21k long can motor in them was a bit vicious, even with the power turned down to 10 volts. So I set up a second chassis, and I'm not sure whether it was an SRP 18 or 20K motor, S-can motor. I had a spare from some job lot I bought. I had an NSR suspension kit hanging around. So I put it together, didn't put any weight in it or anything, and it ran quite sweetly. So I think, you know, if we hark back to one of Chris's theories from way back, that sometimes you can get a better handling car, better performing car with less motor.
Got some pictures?
So that,
well, not only the less motor, Den, that the S-can weighs about 12 to 13 grams less than that FK180. And I think Dennis has done this. Well, Dennis has changed a couple of them and put S-cans in, and on a wood track, they're much sweeter with an S-can.
It's much better that way. I had to change mine back for the race with electric dreams, but it's much quicker on my track. With the short can motor.
I didn't get a chance to look at lap times compared to some of the other classes because he didn't have the he had power on, but he didn't have his you know, his computer turned on. So, but it felt nice, and it was easy to drive. So that's always a big plus. Just before I get into I haven't got any pictures of that. Sorry, Greg, but I've got some pictures of the what we call the narrow Can-Am class in Hobart to come. But when we were talking earlier about lightweight wheels or lightweight anything, I come from a neck of the woods where the idea is whack as much weight in them as you can. And so I always have a chuckle when someone asks, like Wayne asks, what does gas wheels weigh or something like that. So, but I mean, they're running a Ninko Cup class up there where they've set a 120 gram minimum on it. So
what you really need to do is find a CNC place that'll do some tungsten wheels for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll get to the share now, and we'll have a look at that. So.
Tungsten bushings, tungsten axle, tungsten wheels, tungsten gears.
Okay. Oh, there we go. I just should be right. I talked about, I think over the last couple of weeks, I talked about this narrow Can-Am series that they have in Hobart, and there was never ever, of course, a narrow Can-Am series in real life, but it's just that they've sort of, some of the monogram cars and things that were a lot, a lot narrower. They decided to make a class where people could use some of the narrow cars. So, that's about the only rule, is that the rear track is restricted to 55 millimeters. So these are just some of the pictures that Phil's kindly sent up to me. I can't remember that I'd ever heard of a Di Tommaso Oscar before, but there's one. I'm not sure whose car that was, but it's running on a modified Hornby Ford Focus chassis.
We still, Big Dan, we only see the opening slide so far.
Oh, sorry. Oh, well.
Go to slide 2.
Yeah. Well, I was actually thought I was in. I thought I was actually in slideshow mode, but
apparently the screen share is sharing slideshow as a separate.
Yeah. Okay. Look. Well, I'll go back into manual mode then.
Okay.
How are you looking now? You can see it now?
Yeah.
Can you see the Di Tommaso?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then yes. So you're not going to get as big. I don't know whether I can do a zoom on that to make it a bit. Yeah. Let's just. I've got a zoom thing here. So. Okay. So as I said a couple of ticks ago. This was a Di Tommaso Oscar. I've got an idea this might be a chap called Reese. You can see it's they've changed the drop arm. Looks like they've put in a 24 style guide with the braids there. The next one is one of Phil, our convener down in Hobart, a Ford Honker. After I prepared the slideshow last night, I got the results of their last race, and glory be, this honker actually won a race on Tuesday night in Hobart, so probably done something that the real one never did. And as you can see there, predominantly an NSR chassis with some sort of well-used old shark motor, judging by the condition of it. So then, okay, so next one up. Another one of Phil's. I think there's been four rounds so far, and Phil's won each of them with a different car, and he intends running a different car in each of the 7 rounds. So if you can see that one there, a brass scratch built chassis. Not sure whether it's a slimline motor or a a long can motor mounted on its side. So
looks like a slim can.
That's a Matisse body as well.
It's a Matisse.
Matisse, Matisse, Australian. Frank Matisse was I thank you for telling me that, Chris, because I wasn't quite sure. So
yeah,
but knowing Phil, he would find something fairly.
He made some pretty cars that Frank made.
Oh
yeah. Now, I think that's a Lola T280.
Yeah.
It looks like that, with the front wing. But the ANZ colours fooled me. ANZ is an Australian bank, Australian New Zealand bank. So probably not Dave won't mind me saying it's probably not one of his prettier efforts in scratch building a chassis, but it looks like just a standard slotted 23k motor.
That chassis carries back a long way. Chris will probably recognize Larry Shepard's influence in that.
Oh, okay, then I've heard of Larry's name. Yeah.
And the Tassie, the guys down in Hobart from the days of the Tassie Targa and some of those proxy races back in the early aughts. They copied a lot of those chassis, I think.
Yeah, that was the puzzle pan chassis.
Oh, this one looks like it's got a center, just a center pivot. And Larry used to love those with the center pivot.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like Larry soldered that though.
No. Larry was a little better than that.
Yeah, it surprised me really because Dave is the chap that ran these is an exquisite modeler, and he turns out some wonderful stuff. But so maybe this was just a throw together effort. Right, so we'll move along from that one, and that's. Now, I was fairly sure this was the Elfin. They told me this was an Elfin, so and so I picked the right one when I named them Lola and Elfin, respectively. Not sure whether that's a resin body or not, but this looks to be. I'm not sure whether this is all slotted, but it's definitely got a slotted pod grafted in it there, and as you can see up here, it's cut away at the front to clear the front of the body, and it's probably narrowed up a bit because of the the 55mm limit. So next one is again, it looks like, I'm not sure whether there's a monogram body or a resin body. It might be a resin body.
Yeah,
and
it's not a monogram. They didn't make it 2 months ago.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And that's is that a that's a survey color scheme, isn't it? Yeah.
Sans wing.
Yeah, that's it. Sans wing. Yeah. You're in French Canada, are you, Chris? Okay, and again an NSR chassis with maybe pruned at the front here to clear the front of the body. I'd say that's just about read sharp 21.5 on there, so my caption's fairly right. Moving on to another of Phil's efforts. I don't think he's run this he may not have run this one in an event yet. So so a Phil K resin body, and it's a modified Spirit Porsche 936 chassis. Okay. Now there is a genuine monogram body. Yeah. I've got one of those, but it's actually twisted. You know, it's sort of I'd have to get the hot water on it to straighten it out, but it was that sort of narrow that I never really used it on anything in anger. And you know, with the theme of the Hobart guys employing a lot of weight, you can see this great big brass plate on the bottom of the chassis. Are you guys getting a bit of feedback or something there, or?
Yeah, I hear feedback.
Somebody's unmuted.
Yeah.
Got a storm coming in.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that one was Rob actually did a good job. He'd actually had the dreaded COVID for 2 or 3 weeks, so on his comeback he got a second place in the round.
He might have got a first place if he had half decent braids on the front of it, right?
Yeah, I always wonder, Chris, when I go down there. I mean, I try and clean my braids up and everything, and the quality of some of the braids the guys run down there, it just astounds me at times.
Those don't look great, no.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll scroll so I can get down to the next lot of picture slides. Okay. Right. I don't think Phil's run this in a race yet. There's still 3 rounds to go, so this might be one of the ones that he's just yet to run. And as the caption says, it's I assume it's his own resin body, a Nissan R382, and a modified Bear Dog chassis. I've heard of Bear Dogs. I'm not quite sure what the motor is. He's wrapped it up there to keep it secret. So. And the last one is, and I think that's pretty standard fly all round.
Yeah.
Except for the shark motor, of course. So
fly with the roof cut off.
Oh yeah, you can see where the original roof was on the back there. Yeah, so he spiderized it. Okay,
there you go. The simplest chassis in the whole bunch, and it wins.
Yeah, well, Chris, it's interesting that some of the other guys have used that particular chassis and modified it to fit under other bodies, and they've always done fairly well.
Yep.
Yeah, it always was a good car for some reason.
Yeah. Okay. Now that I've stopped sharing, Greg, you might be able to pinpoint me there. Last week, I offered Dewan the possibility of using those nylon flange nuts to use as front bearings for an Inco. There's one I dragged out of the box somewhere.
Nice. Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah. So as I said, because of the flange allows them to glue in nicely to the uprights of the chassis. Yep. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
All right, good stuff, Mr. Big Den. Thank you.
Interesting to see that stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed the very beginning. Was that wasn't a proxy race, was it? It was some kind of.
It was just a local race. A local series, I think he said.
Yeah, local series. They run 7 rounds of a variety of series. That one's currently at about round 4, and they've just run the second race of a sideways Group 5. I'm hoping to get down in a couple of weeks' time to and I'm going to do something really stupid if I manage to run in the narrow Can-Am. I've got this.
Good old Strombecker.
Yeah, the good old Strombecker.
Chaparral. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you get rid of that ball bearing in the back, it doesn't work too badly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've actually cut it all away, and just I've got a separate wing to go on the back, and a Penelope pit lane chassis in the works.
You're not going to put that honking great midships wing on top of it, right?
No.
It's certainly narrow enough.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it only comes in at about 51, and
oh yeah, those were, you know.
Big Dan, how many coats of white paint did you have to put on the red body?
Well, I didn't do it, but a friend did. But you know, you wouldn't see it in the translation, you know, from the Skype call. But if you look at it in a certain light, it's pink. It's pink white.
Yeah.
It probably could have done with another 17 coats.
All right, thanks for sharing, Big Dan. And we've made the watchers wait long enough. Let's go ahead and do the drawing for John Kitt's body kits. Let me switch over to my randomizer. And as always, I did my utmost to make sure I did not miss out on anybody. There were two or three people that commented without using the keywords, so I just assumed that they either did not watch the entire video or did not feel the need to enter the contest, but they did not get into this list because they did not use the keywords. Those who used the keywords were Peter Langlois, I assume, Graham Boyd, Model Race Car, Bob Roberts, Frank Sisto, John Underwood, Joseph Steele, Lee Hagerdorn, Cube Racing, Don Young, Mike Hessian, Smokey Jack, Kelly Avery, Michael Maurer, J-Rod Slot Cars, Mr. J-Rod is here with us today, Paul Smith, Ant Fitton, Richard, there's my dog playing with his toy now, Richard Lang, Primed and Ready, and YZ Fox 05. So as we said last week, the top three, when I randomize this list, are going to be the winners of this, and then I will put them in touch with John to get those things shipped, and I will make sure John is adequately reimbursed for those things. Here we go. Randomizing, and 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Don Young, woohoo! Primed and Ready, and Joseph Steele. All right, Don has a new project we're going to look forward to seeing a show and tell on. And Primed and Ready and Joseph Steele are our wieners. So, John, remind us of your email, and we'll have those people email you to make sure that they get in touch with you.
No problem. Well, I will put it in the chat, of course, but it's really easy. KIT9161@rogers.com.
All right. So if you're one of those three people, send an email to John. And if you're not one of those people, do not send an email to John. We will know.
Hey, John, do I need to send you an email?
No.
Okay.
I'll send it for you.
Do you already have John's address on file, John?
We've already had some workings.
Perfect. So John already knows where to send your prize.
Beautiful.
And you know what? I'll be fair. I'll be nice. You know, if it's okay with John, each winner can choose which of the three models that they want to win.
You took the words right out of my mouth. You choose whichever three of the three that you would like, and that's what you will get. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No forced prizes here.
Yeah. So the Porsche 935, the Porsche 356, and the Chaparral 2G.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, I got them all.
I'm so glad because you watch every episode.
I know. You know what? My memory, I do not count on it ever, but you know, this time it worked out. So yeah, you can choose from those three different models. So contact John at his email in the description below, and he'll make sure that he gets one of those sent to you. So thank you for participating in that contest, and keep watching videos, because the more videos you watch, the sooner I'll get money, and that means the sooner we'll do another contest. So
Thank you for doing that. It's really great.
Hey, you know, it's fun.
Are we done show and tell, Greg?
No, we can always do show and tell. Mike has his hand up. We've got 10 minutes left.
Yep.
I'll make sure there's time for you, Chris, because we definitely want to see some Chris Walker show and tell. Mike, what you want to show? What you want to ask?
I just wanted to, I looked up the voltage that I was running.
Oh, yeah.
Someone asked the question about that, 11.7.
And that's what's going
we usually run.
That's what's going into your APB, or what's at the rails?
That's at the motor.
At the motor, okay.
At the motor.
How do you come up with 11.7?
I measured it.
Why not 11.6, 5?
Because it's going in.
Because it's set through RCS 64.
Okay.
It's basically
math.
So you've got a 15-volt power supply going into the digital control unit. and then the software sets a percentage for the maximum allowable power. And so you really have no way to do a fine, voltage control at the motor kind of situation. So you got to basically.
I really could, but it's much easier to leave it at 15 and run it that way, because that way I can adjust it through the RCS, and it makes it simple.
But even if you set the input voltage, you'd have to basically do a bunch of measuring to know how much it's going to drop by the time it gets to the motor, to know what you want the input voltage to be to get the kind of voltage at the motor that you want.
Yeah.
So we'll get that next week from you, Mr. Maurer.
Well, actually, I could give that to you now.
Have you written it all? Have you done the experiment?
I've written it all down, actually. The range goes from 10.9 to 12 at the Pro Magless 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45 and 50.
Really?
So it's 10.9, 11.2, 11.4, 11.7, 11.8, and 12.
I'd have figured a wider voltage range for those percentages.
It's interesting. So yeah, those are the measurements I got when I did it. And the way I did it was I put an open car on and clipped the leads of my DVOM to it, and I've got a pretty good fluke DVOM, so it's pretty accurate. And just floored the controller at each position, and that's what I came up with. And I checked to make sure it was consistent across the board, and it was. I tried it with different cars, and it still maintained the same thing. So that's what they run. So if anybody wants to know,
get a hold of Mike, and he can tell you how many volts the motor gets. Tell him how much the input voltage is, and what your speed power settings are in your race management, and he'll tell you what the motor voltage is.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Walker, by all means, take the floor.
Okay. Our local clubs run a lot. We have a bit of a fondness for a couple of 60s, late 50s, early 60s Formula One cars. And they're hard to get bodies for. I built, and one of our club members asked me to rebuild a Lindbergh. Oh, let's see if I can do this. Is it going to work? Anything?
Not yet.
Why am I not doing this?
Been a while.
Sorry? Okay, so hang on. So I got my picture. Oh,
once your pictures open up, come back to Zoom, hit share, click the picture, and then share again.
Yeah, okay, hang on. Okay, picture's open, now share screen.
Yep.
And then click the picture.
And then click share one more time.
Not working.
After you click the picture, there should be another share button to click down at the bottom.
No, I got the. Okay, this is not going to work. I just had my computer all torn down and a new operating system put in, so maybe that's why I'm getting all screwed up.
Well, you're welcome. We've got a few more minutes left. Does anybody else have anything they want to circle?
No, I'll have to go figure this out. Sorry.
No worries. Anybody else got anything they want to ask about, share, circle back on, talk about? Apparently not. We were all waiting with bated breath for Chris's.
It's not going to happen, guys. Don't wait for me.
No worries. I don't have.
I've seen some of it on Slot Forum. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Use of oxygen digital. And,
go ahead, Dewan.
Again, I think I've kind of asked this question once before, where you could use the digital a car that's been chipped for oxygen, or I asked for some of the other cars, but specific for oxygen. What steps would you have to take to use that same car that's chipped for digital oxygen on an analog track?
Short the connection for the analog controller.
I can't. You muted, Greg.
Oh no, I'm not. You should be able to hear me. Can you hear me now?
I can hear him.
Did you mute your computer, Dewan? Can you hear me now?
Did I turn off my volume?
You turned off your volume, buddy.
Can you hear me, Duane?
No, I can now.
Okay, so the answer to your question is all you have to do is provide full power to whatever analog lane that you're using. For most analog club tracks, that is bridging the black and white poles. So if you have a 3-wire connector, you just make a little. I made a single wire with alligator clips on both ends, and I just clip one to the black, one to the white, and that basically just sends full power to the rails. Then you plop your car on and use your oxygen controller. If you want to use an analog controller, no dice. You're going to have to take out the oxygen chip because it has no analog functionality of its own. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
So if you could actually, if you're using a slotted type connector for the oxygen chip, which are these.
Yeah, just unplug it and then plug them
just
back.
Unplug it. And if you use the opposite connectors, you can plug it in and use it as an analog. Just you're bypassing the chip. So it would be simple to do that if you wanted.
And that would be only. Well, is that the only chip that's used for oxygen, making the car oxygen enabled?
Yes.
There are multiple oxygen chips depending on if you get old stock versus whatever just hit the store. You know, if you find some store that has some old Type B oxygen chips, then no, you won't have those connectors on it. If you find an old Type C, they don't come with the connectors, so you'd have to solder them on. The Type C chips are the ones that you can put all kinds of different firmware in, but none of them are analog firmware. So to run them on an analog track, you'd have to basically turn your lane into an oxygen lane by giving it full power, which usually pisses off the analog guys because if they become a rider on your track, that's a dead car at the end of the straight. So I've done that before. Also, if you're running on an analog track that uses dead strips for lap counting, not going to work for your chipped car because the power that comes from the motor to trigger a dead strip doesn't go through the chip the other way.
That's continuous, yeah.
Yeah, so you're not going to count on a dead strip track. But any other analog lap counting, works just fine. But otherwise, yeah, bypass the chip. I reckon, personally, none of the digital chips that have analog functionality are good analog functionality. They are passable. You can make the car go. But if you want to actually race the car in an analog mode, just bypass the chip entirely. With Carrera, all you got to do is unplug the chip and then plug those connectors in, just like Mike was talking about.
Yeah, I've done that.
You get a brand new slotted car that comes with those plug wires and a brand new slotted chip that has the plugs on it, then you can do the same thing with the oxygen chip. But otherwise, just rewire it.
Okay. This is all spawned from entertaining the concept of something we talked about a few weeks ago with possibly having a track setup that might be able to do some type of a oxygen-enabled thing. So I'm just kind of pondering the thoughts.
Your toughest thing would be figuring out how to put lane changers in your track.
Well, that would be part of it too. So yes,
everything else is easy peasy. Oh, we got screen sharing. All right, go ahead.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I dicked around here, and something finally worked.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
I was looking awesome.
I got to do it all again. Thanks.
You got to repeat what he mistakenly did.
Clean.
Please, Chris, leave your mistake. They're better than mine.
I had a request from one of our local guys to try and fix up an old car and make it suitable for our 60s F1 class.
Well, let's get that picture up before you go. There we go. Okay, now continue.
That's what I signed in with or started with. And this is an old Lindberg stack pipe BRM. It's got a 24 scale melon on the driver's helmet and horrible wheels and ugly. This car came out, I think, in 1964. So the first thing I did was had to rip it out and build a chassis for it. So that's what I came up with in terms of a chassis.
Mm-hmm.
Is that up?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that's some really thin piano wire on the side, Chris.
Well, it's the class rules have like a 14,000 RPM motor in it and little skinny tires. So you really don't need, you can really use a pretty soft chassis on this. And this is quite torsionally soft. So that was the chassis that went underneath it. And then with a little bit of filing and scraping and painting and doing other stuff, I came up with Richie Ginther's stack pipe BRM.
Nice.
Very nice.
That doesn't even look like the same car.
Wow.
And it runs incredibly well, just incredible.
Oh, I can imagine. That looks fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, I've got one more different view.
You created the best silk purse out of a sow's ear ever.
I was going to say, that is some shiny shit right there.
Well, it's better.
Are those stacks new too?
No, they were just chrome things, and I just took the chrome off. And 60s cars they had all the pipes are all rusted pieces of metal in the thing. So I just sort of dabbed around with some flat brown and flat black, and got it to where it was sort of acceptable, and that was it.
And do we have urethane tires on?
Sorry?
Are the tires urethane tires?
Yeah, the club that we run in, a couple of the guys these are Darts tires who aren't Schinkel. It's everybody in the club either uses his or another guy's in the club tires. So those are urethanes. And with a flexible chassis and 14,000 RPM motors on a wood truck, it's got more grip than you can, you can't break the end loose with a little tiny motor on that. So anyway,
fantastic.
That was that. And then
very nice.
Yeah, I did a similar one for myself. Another Lindbergh that was even worse to start it. Well, I'll go back and show you that. This one I did for me because I really didn't like the stack pipe. So this was the runner-up. This was the stablemate. This was the Windberg Porsche 804. Again, with a good-sized melon on it and stuff, and hideous wheels. And I was always a big Dan Gurney fan, so that the chassis on this is basically the same as the other one. But I've always been a big Dan Gurney fan, and what I got at the end of the day was this.
Oh, very nice. And the roll bar, it looks like it could actually use it as a roll bar instead of the driver's head.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the Lindbergh one didn't have a roll bar, so I had to drill a couple of little holes and.
Oh, well, that's probably why they put the big head in then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That actually looks like a race car. That's fantastic.
Absolutely lovely.
One for Den. And Dennis does exactly the same thing with his cars. But there's an NSR F1 Den with just the honking great big motor taken out and an S-Ken popped in. So
I actually got some. I got Phil to get me a couple of spare pods, of different softness and hardness from Pendles. And then I managed to find a local guy that had the black chassis. So apart from the wheels and the body, I've got a completely second chassis, which I can tailor it wherever I may be racing.
Yeah, well, this one has the hard chassis. I painted the chassis because I can't stand green or yellow chassis under a Formula One car. But And this has got the hard pod, but for magnet racing, certainly the hard pod's a good idea, but the flimsy chassis is probably a better idea because it'll let the magnet suck it down on the track.
Was that the one you did for your club mate? Yeah, I noticed the painted crown gear there that you obviously don't like either, for them to be coloured.
Yeah, I changed the crown gear. I didn't really like that crown gear, and this was a slotted orange crown gear, but I painted it. I think I've shown this before, but this is the redo of the NSR.
The Rosberg car, yeah.
Yeah. So I had to fill in all of these. Does my cursor show up on the thing?
Yep, it does.
All the NSRs are open here, and this car, the Mclaren was closed, so I filled that in and cut these little vents in and did a few other little things. And the helmet is one of these Interlagos miniatures things. They're expensive, but they make the whole bloody car.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's well worth whatever it costs.
Chris, have you tried putting those two pod mounting screws that are on the side of the motor? Have you tried putting them in the back?
I have. I found it better to be on my tracks, the local tracks here. It seems to. What did I end up with on that? Did I put them on the
sides?
I did. Yeah, on my tracks it works on the side, but that's on limited track running. So I'm not gonna stand by where to put the screws on that.
All right, I just noticed that. I've always found them better in the back. But...
On the back, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of track? On wood track, yours?
Yes. Yeah, wood track as the stiffer chassis is better for the wood track with always a stiff pod. But if you're running with magnets, it's not a bad idea to use the soft chassis because the magnets will just suck the chassis right down onto the track and make it work better.
Actually, it doesn't work very well with magnets because it's not stiff enough to hold the car. It just drags along the track.
Well, it's interesting. A lot of the European races, if you turn the cars over at the end of the race and look at the motors, the wrappers are all worn off.
Yeah.
So they scrape the track on purpose.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that the NSR crown gears in those cars are not terribly good.
No.
The slotted crown gear lasts a lot longer. But always use a bronze one and always make sure that the groove is properly lubricated and put in decent spacers so that there's no side play. Because we've seen those gears get absolutely eaten up in a couple of heats at Electric Dreams.
Yeah, I think you can see here, Dan, what I use
you've got spacers in there. Yeah.
Between the crown and the inside bushing face on both sides. A lot of guys use them out here, but I find with the grip of some of the tires and the little tiny wee set screws, after a while, the tire can walk off the axle a little bit or walk down the axle a little bit, and you get a little bit of play. So if you're using your spacers out here, if you get any walking, you can affect the mesh. If you put them on the inside, it's a pain in the ass to put them on the inside because.
Oh, tell me about it.
I've got on, you put one in, you go, that's not enough. I got a 5 thou spacer I got to get in there, right? And it is a pain. But once it's done, it's done. And then the gear can never shift side to side. And on this, I've just cut the motor shaft off. And just
I noticed. I was about to comment on that. You say you don't get that drag in against the hub like you do with the standard.
Well, and interestingly enough, if you're using the motor shaft to center the crown gear, there's enough lateral play in the crown gear that the face of this boss can actually touch the motor shaft. And on right-hand corners, the motor shaft is spinning in the opposite direction to the crown gear. So it's trying to slow it down. And you see a lot of guys in the posts, they've got all this, most of them use the bronze hubs, but you see all this brass dust and they all think it's coming off the pinion. It's not, it's coming off the face of the crown gear, because the pinion or the motor shaft spinning in the opposite direction and just grinding the crap out of it. So
yeah, unless you lubricate them well, you can actually chew out your gear, pretty quickly. One of the guys in Hobart didn't do as recommended in the shakedown race, and he pretty much destroyed the gear in the course of a night.
Do yourself a favor, even though I'm going to tell you it's the worst job you've ever done in your life, and put spacers on both sides of the crown gear.
Oh, what you do is you set it all up and you measure it with a set of calipers, and you cut and file a little piece of aluminum tubing that's the right size, and you fit it in there and you're done.
Now you just have to try that with an HO freight car when you've got to press that axle through the chassis and get that spacing right.
Yeah.
And if you've got to completely press it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as we finish.
Our rules don't allow that.
All right. Well, I think we've got some fantastic words of wisdom from the masters of the craft, and we'll end on a high note. Oh, Mr. Alan went ahead and threw his hand up. Let's squeeze you in there, Alan.
A very quick curiosity question. I've never had the opportunity to run a sidewinder or an angle winder. Is there any difference between the two, performance-wise? And if so, what?
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. So
okay.
I'm gonna not let anybody answer that during the recording, but I'll let them take it away. You can just be regaled with all the information as soon as I hit the stop button. As always, come to a live show to hear my dog play with his toy. Until then, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Wave bye. Bye-bye.